Thank you for joining me. My name is Laura Marmolejo. I'm the Dean of Advanced Manufacturing at Austin Community College. Just give you a little bit of background so you can see where I'm coming from, because I've had a very interesting experience over the last 20, 30 years, and it's led me to where I am today indirectly. Like I said, I didn't know where I was going to end up at this point in life, and it was kind of all, it just all fell into place. So let me start from the beginning. I am a first generation college graduate. Didn't plan to go to college initially. I somehow filtered into it by an external faculty member at the university in my town that encouraged me to go to some women in engineering program. Didn't even know what that was. But I went, and the first thing I heard about was, you can make a lot of money. And I said, okay, you got my attention. And then they said, we need more women, and they started to, I spent 6 weeks going through different things with them. And it was the first time I had a thought about maybe doing something different. So I did start the engineering program at the University of Texas in El Paso, and it took me probably 5.5 years to get a 4-year degree. Again, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what that meant. I was just trying to do what I thought would be a way to give me security, financial. So it wasn't until my sophomore year, past my sophomore year, when I actually got my first internship opportunity at a company, and then everything changed. That exposure to what others are doing, to seeing something I didn't know existed, really changed everything. When I came back to school, I was much more motivated. I could see why I had to study these boring topics, because they made sense when you applied them. And so I really started to love the content. I finally knew what engineering was all about, and I went the rest of my bachelor's degree very focused, great grades, etc. So fast forward, got my master's in engineering, came to Austin, worked for 10 years as an engineer, had some challenges with the fact that I'm a woman. It was a challenge. So some of the things I had to experience were difficult, but they were great, because like I said, everything negative only leads to a positive, because you learn from those experiences. So I learned a lot about those challenges. I learned about how to maneuver in a man's world, and it was a great experience. However, at some point, having children, I really was trying to look for alternatives, and someone said, why don't you go teach at Austin Community College? And I remember the first thing I thought was, teach what? I'm not a teacher, but I found out they had an electronics program, and that's what got me to ACC. So I started teaching at ACC, and I really, really loved it, because of the fact that the students I saw were replications of how I was. There were students who were not sure where they were going, didn't even know if they wanted to go to college. I heard I'm not really college material, all the different things that I had felt, I saw in the students we were teaching. So I really got engaged, because I really felt that my calling was to help give that example like someone had done for me. Because if I hadn't met a lady who encouraged me, I probably would not have gone to college. I might have decided to just do what everyone else did, get married, have kids, get a job, right? So anyways, education is a game changer. And if kids don't realize it, they don't make that decision. So I've spent the rest of my 20 years here at ACC. I've worked as full-time faculty for 5 years, then went back to adjunct, and then eventually started working in continuing education as their corporate trainer. What that meant is that I was out teaching at companies because they had companies that wanted upskilling. I was the first teacher, I think it was 2 of us maybe, and that's where I started to see the disconnects that existed. In industry, they don't care, continuing ed, credit, they don't have those definitions. They need skills. Skills had changed. Over the 10 years I've been out of the industry, automation took over. All of a sudden the skills were much more advanced than they were prior to that. So when they're looking for skills and they're asking me, can I help you? Can I help them find skills? I could only help them to a point. So academically, there was the credit side and the non-credit. Anyways, eventually, after spending years in continuing ed, I went back to the credit side or faculty, and when that happened, I remember the Vice Chancellor of Instruction said, well, you've got really good relationships with the companies, you've been doing a good job with non-credit, why don't we put it together? Which is what I had did in my dissertation when I got my doctorate. It was on how do we connect non-credit to credit? Because to me, that serves everybody, right? There's certain students that are ready for college. There's certain students that are not ready at that moment. It doesn't mean they're not. But there's a lot of different diversity of needs, and by putting it together, we could serve all the students, and we can also serve all the companies because they needed all of that. So ACC took a chance. They put the advanced manufacturing department together, non-credit. I took my credit programs. I took 3 staff from CE, and we are one department. It's a unique space. It's worked very well, and everything I'm going to show you is based on that concept of working collaboratively, not only internally, but externally, and how we can make a bigger impact when we have the same goals, and we're not worried about your side of the house, my side of the house, or who does what. It's one voice by the college for industry in general. So I wanted to give you that perception or understanding from where I've come from, because I'm very passionate about it, and it's been what's driven me over the last 10 years that we've been really working on from the CE side. Let me see if I can get this to work. Okay, so we're going to look at how we have been trying to lead the way, and again, it wasn't intentional. I said we're leading the way, but we kind of just did what we thought we should do, and now 10 years later, it seems to be, oh, we really are doing something that was meaningful. Does that work? Let me try it this time. No, I'll just do it with my finger. All right. So what I want to go over today is just talk about how business needs have changed in the modern day, today manufacturing. Looking at existing roadblocks to this development, how do we deal with the roadblocks we have, and then alternative pathways that have been helpful, and then kind of how we've responded over the last 10 years. All right, so workforce development has really changed. It's really evolving. The business models have changed, businesses have had to change, the generations that have come after have changed, right? And so they have to be more flexible, and companies have to be more innovative and have to find new ways to attract talent. So they're now looking at ways to adapt these new population. The youth of today have different priorities than maybe my generation. And it's also, they can't just wait to do things the way they've always done it. I've been working with some companies for over 10 years, and 10 years ago, the only thing they wanted is graduates. They'd come and say, who's graduating? And then they take them. And that was it. They didn't want anyone besides the new graduates. But that's not the story today. Today, there's a lot of ways to engage with our students, and that's great for the students and great for the companies. So what do you think are the current workforce needs in advanced manufacturing today? Does anyone have a couple of guesses? What's critical today in manufacturing? Technology, advancements, yes. Anything else? There's a lot of things that they want now that are different than what they wanted 10 years ago. And I'll talk about a few of them. One of them is they need a higher skilled labor in technology. So technology's changed a lot, and then the jobs ultimately change as well. They're also needing, ironically, a lot more focus on soft skills, communication, teamwork. With the generations that are connected by phone, their social skills have been a little bit more lacking than maybe in our generation. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't even have a laptop when I was in college. I had to talk to my friends, I had to talk to everybody. And some of the things that we hear now is like, do you have a technical writing? Do you have a team building? How about problem solving methodology? There's things that used to not be important because it was normal to have those skills. Now they're becoming like critical skills, the soft skills, or professional skills if you want to put it that way. And then the continuous need for upskilling and reskilling. People are in the workforce and things are changing. Who's giving them that information on how things change? Who's helping them get up to speed on what the new sensors are like or what the new programs are doing? All that automation has led to a lot of gaps for even the existing workforce. And then again, the emphasis on problem solving and critical thinking. Where do you get that? I was listening today earlier when they keep talking about math. People ask me all the time, why do you require algebra in your program? Can't we find other ways? And honestly, there's lots of ways, but math is a critical thinking skill. Whether or not you sit there and analyze things mathematically, we train technicians all day long. They don't walk around with a calculator. But the ability to solve problems is an analytical skill. So I still think math is super important, as they've been mentioning it, because it builds on those analytical and problem-solving skills. So why do you think it's difficult to find a qualified workforce? If you look at the latest Deloitte report, it says the need for skilled manufacturing employees is a persistent problem, been hearing it for years, and it's expected to result in 2.1 million unfilled jobs by 2030. That's a lot of jobs. And that saddens me because I think about our population here in Austin. There are plenty of people who would love a good job. So the only problem is we need to connect them with those jobs, give them the right skills so they can get that job. So it's not that the people aren't there, it's that they don't have the skills. So here's the reducing roadblocks as I see them. Again, this is generic enough, but still, the skills gap between the job seeker and the employer needs. The skills they need is not what they find. They're looking for very specific things such that we mentioned earlier. Limited access to affordable and accessible education and training. Things changed many decades ago when a lot of technical companies had their own in-house training. That was the norm. When I worked at Applied Materials, we had Applied Materials University. We did our own training. That went away when that first downturn occurred, and they have not come back. So all these companies have now been years without any upskilling, without anybody giving them additional training. So how do they get training? Well, there's third parties, there's consultants. Sometimes the companies aren't willing to do that, sometimes they are. They try to do some internal training, but bottom line is there's a limited access. Where does that leave ACC and other community colleges? Perfectly positioned to answer that call. I mean, that's why we started this in the first place, because we said, well, we could do that. We could do that training, and we could do it in a very cost-effective manner. We have access to grants. We have access to other things that maybe a company doesn't have access to. So we've been doing skills development fund grants through the state of Texas for 10 years, and we've built a lot of our curriculum on that grant. We got funds to develop it, work with the companies to identify it, bought the equipment needed, and it's been an amazing opportunity for the college to be able to serve this sector in ways that we hadn't thought of. The other question that comes up all the time is these long educational pathways. Like I mentioned before, it used to be when you graduate. Now it's like, I need people now. I can't wait 2 years. Really, 2 years is a pie in the sky. A lot of our students are 3 and 4 years, right? They're part-time, they're working. So it's really even longer than that. So they have to look for alternative ways to connect with employees sooner rather than later. And then this is always a challenge, the slow adaptation to alternative pathways by educational institutions. It's hard. It's hard to change things in the college. We have things we've been doing for years. We have structures that have been in place. We have been playing with that for the last 10 years, pushing the limits at ACC. And we're very fortunate to have leadership that supports innovation and allows us, still with some minor roadblocks, to make those decisions and changes. But it's not always easy. It really depends on the college, the administration, if they're willing to support that, because it makes you think outside the box. And that typically hasn't been a community college or university type thinking, right? Our structure's been a certain way, and it's hard to deviate from those traditional structures. No, it's okay. Gives me something to watch. All right, so some of the alternative pathways are having some opportunities to engage with students sooner, having stackable credentials, which we'll mention in a minute. So they're exploring ways to connect with these students. Again, 5 years ago, I think there was one company that did apprenticeships. Today, there's 5. And these are companies that, again, typically wouldn't have done that, but they know they have to if they want to get those employees sooner rather than later. By the time they wait till they graduate, someone's already snagged them, and that's a problem. So now organizations or industries are looking for ways to do apprenticeships. Internships every summer, some companies offer internships. That's a great win for the student. Again, that was my big impact for me as a student, to be able to see what it's like and then come back to the classroom and be able to appreciate why I need to learn all these things. So internships are amazing, and there's more and more companies doing summer internships, sometimes even semester internships. In-house upskilling opportunities. Like I said, in 10 years, we've continued to have a relationship with We're now up to 5 companies that we have grants with that are upskilling. They use ACC to go in and train, not at our place, but at their place. They provide a room, they provide a place to put our equipment. You know, they provide the opportunity. We're in a lot of their LMS systems. And so again, they're investing in their employees, even though they don't have to pay for tuition, they pay the employees to go to the classes. So it's a balance. And then K through 12 engagement. That has been the biggest change in the last decade. And the last year, you know, people don't know what manufacturing is. You ask them, hey, you're gonna study select manufacturing? They're like, no, that's not my choices. We were told it was the last choice in most schools when students are asked if they want to pick. So we've spent this whole year, and we're doing this again this year. Last year, we had so many tours from middle schools, from high schools, to our Make It Center at the college, and we bring them all to our manufacturing department. We've worked with Austin Regional Manufacturing to collaborate on certain schools and bring them in as early as middle schools. So you can imagine initially, you know, we have a lab also with incubator, which we also rent space to entrepreneurs, but it's also a lab for our students. So I'm not just gonna tell you this because it was funny. A year ago when we started bringing these kids, a lot of the employees over there were like, why are you bringing all these children? You know, they're not even gonna come here for 10, 5, 6 years. But we had to explain to them that if you don't expose them early, they won't choose to come here. So we have to invest in these middle school kids, even if we don't see them for 4 or 5 years. So they've learned to change their thinking, and now we know that we don't have to be really technical with them. We're just trying to get them excited. Look at this cool stuff. As far as you need to know, this is the really cool stuff you'll get to play with. When we get to the middle school, high schoolers, then we start talking a little bit about the skills or about the topics and that kind of thing. But it's been interesting. It was an adaptation. People in community college are usually dealing with adults. So dealing with 20, 30 middle school kids running around is a lot, it's a lot of an adjustment for that. Other things we're doing, or that they are doing, companies involved are partnering with us, partnering with other community colleges, with TSTC, with ARMA. All those collaborations help, because you can't do it on your own. Not one entity can do it on their own. They have to work together to be able to get the bigger impact of what you want to achieve. Whoops. All right. So what have we been doing for the last years? One is we've been creating partnerships with industry. We started with Samsung, biggest guy in the house. We said start with the hard one, and then it should get easier. And we did. We spent almost a whole year trying to work out the opportunity to do some training, to get a grant for them. It took a year of planning. And then we did that, and it's been a really great place to develop our foundation. From there, we've continued to go to other semiconductor companies. A lot of the same skills are applied across the board. And then, after getting comfortable with all the semiconductor companies and working with ARMA in many ways, ARMA helped us get the high school academy, which I'll talk about in a minute. They also helped us with our bachelor's degree program, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But then Tesla arrives. That changed was another shift in the landscape. They came with a lot of expectations, a lot of hiring. Some of the employees started going back and forth. So there was a lot of shifting going on, and we had to create better ways to give students or anybody the opportunity to get the skills to get those jobs. Okay, so you can't just say, I want to go work here. The first program that Tesla did was the Tesla Start. It's a technician level program. We got 4,000 inquiries over the period of a year. Very few had the skills they wanted. They needed skilled people to go into these programs. So we quickly created, take these 3 or 4 classes and then you'll be ready. And it helped. In fact, Tesla was the one promoting it for a while. They're like, yes, that's true. If they take those 4, we'll really give them a look. They listen, and they've been really a good partner. We send resumes of our students to them, and they pay attention. So it's a good partnership because they want good employees, and we want to give our students, connected with the type of jobs they're looking for.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So what are those first 3 or 4 courses?
Well, we have a level 1 certificate that we focus on, which is the basic electronics, automation, programmable logic controllers, and manufacturing processes. So those are the 4 that are they're perfectly aligned with their program. and it gives students that foundation to jump into the test to start. Even though we try very hard to keep them, because we want to keep them as students first, but we know the reality is earn and learn is the solution for a lot of people. So we don't forget that. Other things we've done is we've developed tailored training programs that align with industry needs. One of our newest programs has been the STARS program, which stands for Semiconductor Technician Advanced Rapid Start. That's what it stands for. And what that is basically a 4-week intensive training to get technicians or near technician level skill sets to a technician level skill set. So companies are, the 5 semiconductor companies send two employees to us, and we have a class of 10 to 12, and we will upskill them for 4 weeks. They pay them while they're there, and then they go back and they're hopefully ready to transition into a tech role. So they need it again. They have the entry level, the degree level, which is the technician, and then what happens here? There's a gap. And so they're taking their high performance employees here and trying to move them up faster. We've actually created, yes ma'am?
Did you say what the 5 companies were? I know you said.
Yeah, we work with Samsung, Applied Materials, NXP, Infineon, and then Tokyo Electron as well. That's the third one. So part of the issue is just getting people to upskill to where they need to be, and we've actually created a non-credit program that can get someone to a near tech level in 1 year as compared to the 2-year associate degree. And the reason we did that is because this is more geared for working adults that are not able to come to school. So in pairing it with the work experience and that 1-year track, we hope that equates to basically an associate level skill set compared to, so there's our fast track, what we call is our fast track, and then we have our traditional track. And again, it's not that one is important over the other, they're both important to address the different population. If someone cannot go to school because they have a family to support or they work too many hours and they just won't take that 12, 16-week semester, they can do the fast track. Others that are younger and have a little bit more flexibility or just have less responsibility, then yes, we definitely want them to take the traditional academic track. But again, as a college and as a department, we're trying to make sure we can help anyone at any level to achieve the goals they want. So again, those earn and learn opportunities are apprenticeships. We support all the apprenticeships. I think right now there's 4 apprenticeships that are going on, and we connect them with our students. So if they take maybe an entry-level course, right away we connect them with the people who are hiring apprenticeships because they can launch into that. We also have high school academy students that we have connected with the companies, and they've hired a couple of them here and there to become apprentices. And then they come back to school part-time and part-time work. And so one way or another, we're trying to make sure that that's also an option. And again, that K through 12 is at our high school academy. We have students that start their junior year, take 1 class every semester with us. We are on year 3 or 4, I don't recall, I think 3, 4? Maybe 4. Yeah, we started with 10, it was during COVID, right? And now I think we got like 60 something starting, was it 60 starting this fall? Every fall I just check how many did we start to see if we're growing, and we are. And it's not just us, it's word of mouth. The students are the ones that are the best advertisers of these programs. One of the other things we do in the K through 12 is that when you're a senior in our program, like I told you, we have a lab called the Impact Lab. We always hire 1 high school student the spring year of his senior year while he's a student to work in the lab. And then again, that's just that exposure, let them see what it's like to be in the real world with entrepreneurs who are also there. So we always have at least 1 senior, and if things work out, he stays through the summer. Some of them leave to go to college elsewhere, that's fine. But we want to always give a senior an opportunity to work with us. And again, lastly, is creating those meaningful connections. Why do I mean meaningful? It's because we have to be in alignment with our academic programs. If we have 3 non-credit courses or programs, all of them have some level of articulation. We don't want them to take a class and then have to come back and take the same topic again. If it's meaningful, then we can just give them credit from the get-go. So here's how we align. Again, articulation to credit. This came out weird. But that's from all our non-credit programs have some degree of articulation. One class is 6 hours, another one's 8, another one might be, more than that. I think our Tesla programs actually give up to 15 college credits because they're much more intensive. They're over the period of 9 weeks full time. So it just depends, but when we can align it, we will. Again, focusing on our high school academy as a way to bring the youth into this workforce, as well as to connect them with the earn and learn opportunities, because we know the data shows that half the students that graduate are not really ready to go to college. That doesn't mean they won't, it's just they're not ready right then and there. Some of them get ready by having a part-time job in a part-time school. Others just want to wait, and they just want to work, and that's fine. Like I said, I know they'll come back. So we stay engaged with all our students that come through any of our programs. We connect with them and let them know. We track the high school students that have graduated. We'll send them an email a year later. How's it going? Are you ready to, you're one class away from this, we're two of this classes away from this other credential. So we try to stay engaged because we know that everyone's time is their own time. And then, like I said, the apprenticeships. We support the apprenticeships. We go on the company site and do orientations there from our department. We help them on their first semester. We work with them to get them registered. Yeah, we know that's a big roadblock, right? Paperwork. So we help them their first semester. And once they get through that first semester, then we're just kind of in the background. But we know that a lot of people, if you come to college and you get stuck on that applying and registering, there's a hold, and I don't know what they mean by this, sometimes they get frustrated and walk away. We don't want that. We want to make sure we give them every opportunity to make it that first semester, and then we'll let you own it. But we know that that's a challenge, so we have that personal touch when it comes, especially to our apprentices, or anyone. Actually, any student that reaches out to us, we will help them. So this is our full stackable credentials pathway. We have these three in purple are all non-credit courses. We have this course, which is designed in partnership with semiconductor companies solely to increase the workforce. If you know how semiconductor companies have been in the past, very few companies would interview someone who didn't have something technical in their background. It's too much of a gap to teach them very basics like terminology, tool use, basic stuff that they need them to quickly be able to handle. So if you worked in service, retail, or some other non-affiliated area, they usually wouldn't even interview you. So we work together along with ARMA, Workforce Boards, to try to find out what is needed to get them onboarded. So they identified, some key elements, and we put the curriculum together in labs that touched on those elements. And now this new program, well, it's been around for a few years, it used to be called the CPT, but that was misleading, so we're calling it AMP now. That program, we already have partnerships with all these companies that they know that if a student takes that program, they're gonna know the foundation of safety, the foundation of what production is all about, the terminology, what is quality terms that they will see used frequently, things of that nature. So this is a great onboarding where someone comes in and says, I want a job first, that's what I need. School's not my priority, I need a job. Well, they do this. And within 8 weeks, they're able to get a job with usually the big companies, but now there's a lot of small companies that are hiring them. Tesla actually hires a lot of them from this program as well. Then this area is more like, okay, you've got a job, you're in the industry, how do I upskill? I want a better job. I want to grow so I can get that promotion, right? So these are other courses that we offer, open enrollment. We just started doing that open enrollment and allow us just to take it. We've always offered that at the companies. The 10 years we've been working with the companies, those same classes are being offered at the companies, but they're through a grant, so certain employees were given access to that, not all. And we didn't want to prohibit people who work at staffing agencies who are not full-time employees or exempt from those training opportunities. Or maybe just someone who wanted to upskill themselves. So we're now starting to offer these common courses. We looked at across the 5 companies, including Tesla, and we said, these are the common courses that everybody needs. We're gonna offer those. The specialized ones will still be based on demand. But we put together a list of courses that we wanna offer to everyone. And this one is the stars I was telling you about. At this point, it's not an open enrollment course. The company is by selection. The company send them. It's been the first year we're working to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. Next year in 2025, we will open that up to anyone with some kind of assessment first, because we know that that's the highest level of skill set, and so we will have an assessment where a student can, if they pass the assessment, can apply for that program. So at this point, it's just by selection. And then we transition that into, of course, our associate degree path, and ultimately our bachelor's degree. We just recently, again, with the help of ARMA and the companies, identified a Bachelor's of Applied Technology. And it's different. It's not like a typical university bachelor's degree because it's based on the assumption you already have an associate degree and your skill set's already defined. While traditional universities, you take your basics and then the last 2 years you're taking your core courses, right? This is kind of an upside down version. We say, okay, you got your associate's degree in whatever, in electronics, automation, even construction, even welding, whatever it is, and we know that you know your skills. So we're gonna give you the last 2 years of still some top level manufacturing concepts, but we're also gonna teach you how to be a project manager, how to be a leader, understand the supply chain issues, understand automation from a whole, broader level, and it's giving you the skills you need to become a leader, a supervisor, that kind of thing. So before, technicians or anyone with an Associate's of Applied Science didn't really have a pathway to a bachelor's degree. They'd have to go to university, and then they'd have to I think they'd lose about a year. Because we are only 15 gen eds and 45 technical, and the transfer ones are the opposite, right? So now they can just take 2 more years to get a bachelor's degree. Did you have a question?
Yeah, are there opportunities for industry certifications along with that?
That's a really great question, and we have, but here's the thing about it. Working with these companies for the last 2 years, there's not one that they all recognize. And so we have been asked that, and when we do the industry recognized credentials, it adds cost to the tuition. And like we were doing the certified production tech initially, but nobody ever cared if they passed. They cared that they took the class and took the labs, but they didn't. So we've decided until it's valued, we're not gonna add that additional burden to the student cost.
Am I understanding this correctly that they have to complete the purple before they can get to the blue, or are the
No.
purple standalone?
They're standalone. It's
Okay.
just for people who working is their priority at this
Right.
moment, but they still want the opportunity to upskill. And then it gives them that credit, so if they ever can come to school, and I'll tell you, we've created some opportunities. For example, if you work in the semiconductor industry, they work on a compressed shift where they work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, every other Wednesday, or the other end, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and every other Wednesday. So when are we usually offering classes? Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. Nobody can go to school, like literally. So we are now offering, as of this semester, a Monday, Tuesday class and a Thursday, Friday. And we do that to support the apprenticeships. You don't have to quit your job. We'll just offer them differently. And that's a weird thing. Nobody's like, oh, Monday, Tuesday. And they're hybrid, and they only come to school one day. It's live lecture one day, lab the second.
Follow-up question, has or will House Bill 8 change some of your strategy here?
Ironically, it fit right in because we've been offering, this is an OSA, this is an OSA, this is an OSA, which is part of it, and so are all of these. So in fact, we were already well positioned. House Bill 8 came along, we thought, wow, perfect, we're already there. So like I said, a lot of things we've done, we did out of logic because people like me who worked in industry, we all worked together and we found that this made sense. But now it just makes even more sense indirectly, so. Any other questions? Don't hesitate to interrupt me. I can talk all day. All right, let's see. So, this is one of our students, by the way. Here's some of the results that we've seen with all the activities that we've been up to. One is we've had increased job placement rates for our graduates, meaning I can't even keep a tutor. They steal my tutors. I hire students to be tutors, but before long, someone's hiring for an internship or something else. So we see that they get jobs really quickly. We know that the skills that they're getting are meeting the employer demands. And I'll tell you the interesting thing, because when people say credit and non-credit, they work so well together because how do we find what the companies need? When we're developing curriculum on the non-credit side, we're at the companies, we're looking at what they need. They're telling us, why wouldn't I implement those on the credit side? Why wouldn't I take those same labs? Then that's what we do. The equipment we use, the labs we do, they go across both sides. So it's a win for both sides because I can find what's relevant, bring it into the credit side, and then the credit gets a whole new population of students because typically a non-credit student won't go to college. They used to be, they go to continuing ed, get a training, and then they go to work and you never see them again. That's not the case anymore, as you'll see here. We've had over 50 non-credit students continue with their education. They get excited, they're like, what else can I do? This was cool. And we have orientations, we have graduations. We treat them like a normal student. It gets them engaged and they start to see the big picture, not just I came here to take a class to get a job. It's broader than that. Increase high school students with work-ready skills. Again, the great thing about the high school academy is they graduate with a level 1 certificate, which is the technical skills, 6 technical courses, no gen eds, 6 technical courses. And if they're not ready to go to college, it's okay. They can actually get a pretty good job. If they're ready to go to college, 1 more year, you're almost done. Or if they want to do both, then you get an apprenticeship. It just gives them so many more opportunities than they've had before. And again, like I said, half of them aren't ready to go to college. They want to, not right now, but that's okay. They're going to get a good job. Stronger community ties through industry partnerships. It's amazing how much more you can get done when you have partnerships. Like I said, we wanted to do the bachelor's degree. We asked ARMA to, connect us with, some representatives from industry that would tell us what they would need, what kind of skills they wanted, and we spent many weeks talking about skills and putting it together and figuring out what classes aligned with what they wanted. We didn't just pick it out of the air or look at what others were doing. We asked our people in our neighborhood, in our community, what are the skills that you would use, that you'd want, so you could hire someone with a bachelor's degree. So those partnerships are invaluable to make us more relevant. Again, non-grad students, this excites me because like I said, it was 0 not long ago. And then educational solutions that meet students where they are. Again, we can't always expect them to come to us. Sometimes we have to go to them. Sometimes we have to do things different. Our entry-level classes remains hybrid because we know that there are people who maybe want to transition from one career to another. So they can do it online. They just have to show up at the labs. Yes, sir.
Do they need a GED or anything?
As long as they're 18, most companies are okay as long as they're 18. So, other things we've done, we've had a few bilingual classes, to see, and that's, we've had 2 of them. The second one was more successful than the first. We learn a lot each time we do things, right? We learn what those roadblocks are. It's not just access, it's also computers, it's other things. We found math is always a limiting factor for basic things, like what is a tolerance? That's a basic math skill, but if you haven't heard it or done it in 10 years or 20, we found a lot of our students were working with their earbuds in while listening to lecture. So again, we're trying to help meet students where they are, regardless of the situation. We'll try anything. Where are we heading? Well, the future direction is to continue to expand our training programs with emerging technology as technology changes. Now we've gone from basic automated systems to smart systems. AI is coming, I'm still not sure when and scary. But things like that, we're just trying to stay relevant by maintaining those emerging technologies in our curriculum, maintaining a strong commitment to accessibility, equity, and student success. Like I said, we've had people dedicated to supporting students. When before this person was hired and people would inquire, I would send everybody an email. Emails don't always work. When I hired Ruben, instead of gentleman, he calls every one of them. The number of people participating tripled because they just need that personal touch. They need that answered question, right? So a lot of different things we do to try to keep that student engaged. Continue introducing middle and K-12 students to the exciting world of manufacturing through tours. When we did Engineering Day in October, we got Tesla to come bring some cars. They got really excited about that. So little things like that, and they're, like I said, good partners. We ask them, they say okay. So they're awesome about that. And then curriculum continues to be updated based on industry feedback. If they say we're missing something, we want to fill that. So we keep that conversation going. We also have a whole new opportunity window with semiconductor. With all the funding that's been coming through the pipelines, where are we going with that? Well, partnering with UT and Texas Institute for Electronics is a big one. We're going to work with them to launch the Semiconductor Training Center and expand our semiconductor curriculum and education. We've always done the machining side of semiconductor. The machines are complicated tools, and we've always done what they needed on the equipment side. What we don't have is the process side, because that equipment is very expensive and it's not practical. So with this center, we'll have process equipment where we could actually complete the full spectrum of training that a semiconductor company would need. Which means we'll be able to incorporate more process equipment into the curriculum. We're going to actually develop a semiconductor level 1 certificate in 2025. We're working on that right now to define that. Expanding semiconductor training to Round Rock. We're also going to be building a semiconductor space in Round Rock that should open at the end of 2025. So again, having a presence north and south is important when it comes to semiconductor training with the Taylor facility. That's not our district, but Round Rock is. It's our closest connection to that expansion project. And then again, continue to deliver stars for rapid technician training. So in conclusion, future workforce continues to be dynamic, and we have to be innovative, and we have to continue to adapt. And we're trying to continue to be in the forefront of these changes, and ensuring that our students have the right skills to make them marketable and be desired by these companies and hired. Lastly, what is my suggestion, call to action? Help us join in shaping the workforce by learning about what we can offer and sharing the word, because communication is the hardest part. I think we have a lot of good opportunities. We have more job requests than we have students, and I try my best to find them, but if you send them our way. Explore opportunities for partnerships and collaboration. Again, the more collaboration you have, the stronger you are. And then our youth. We have mentors for every high school academy student. We're always looking for mentors. So anytime you can invest as a mentor, that's even another way to give back. And I believe that's it.